injury. These are kids that, this is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin.
Hello, I'm Dr. Haydee Brown.
And I'm Dr. Sonya Sloan.
And we are eh-yah,
Black and Brown Women Disruptors in Healthcare and Beyond.
So today we're talking about autism, science, and the dangerous power of misinformation. Because once again, we've got another RFK Jr. fire to put out. This week, RFK Jr., our Health and Human Services Secretary, resurfaced old, harmful myths about autism. But before we unpack it, let's just ground ourselves in some actual facts. But let's first run this clip.
Speaking for nearly 30 minutes, the nation's top health official, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., taking aim at the CDC's latest report on rising autism rates.
This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure.
The report released Tuesday says 1 in 31 8-year-olds were identified with autism spectrum disorder in 2022, up from 1 in 36 in 2020. RFK Jr. discounting the CDC's own previous finding that genetic predisposition is a risk factor in developing autism, and doubling down on his assertion that it's an epidemic.
Genes do not cause epidemics. You need an environmental toxin.
All right, team. All right, Mighty. Here's the real headline, okay? The CDC just released new data showing that 1 in every 31 children in the United States has autism spectrum disorder. Yes, that's up from 1 in 36 just 2 years ago. But here's the catch, folks. There's not a reason for fear. That increase is not a reason for fear. It's a sign of progress. Experts, including the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics, say this rise reflects better awareness, better screening, and deeper understanding of how autism shows up, especially in communities of color. So let's be clear, this is not an epidemic or even a new epidemic. This is science catching up to what families, especially Black and Brown families, have known for decades. Autism is being recognized earlier, and more children are getting the support they need. Autism is a spectrum. That means it doesn't look one way. It looks 1,000 different ways. Some autistic individuals need significant support, while others thrive in higher education, careers, and relationships. It's not about ability, it's about neurodiversity. But RFK Jr. and others are pushing a very different and very, very dangerous narrative. Let's roll the next clip.
Sir, this is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children.
So,
Dr. Sloan?
Let's shut this all the way down. Because autism is not caused by vaccines. We have already proved that over and over again. That is a bald-faced lie, once again, that has been debunked by every credible medical institution, including the AAP, the CDC, and the World Health Organization. So what does contribute to autism? The American Academy of Pediatrics says genetics play the most significant role. And certain genes, in different combinations. There's also prenatal factors such as advanced parental age, low birth weight. These are some other things that may increase the risk for autism, but it's not diet, it's not parenting, and it's definitely not vaccines. So the environment, it may also be in addition to, or, a combination of multiple factors that play a role in this. but we're still talking about prenatal exposures, not chemicals in the foods or anything concocted up by this conspiracy theorist such as Secretary of Health and Human Services. So, for example, advanced parental age, low birth weight, specific complications during the pregnancy, all of those put you at a higher risk for a possibility of autism. But again, we're still learning, people. We don't know everything. And when you're making major cuts to research and programs that would support more data, it's sort of counterintuitive of how we're going to find this out by the fall, right? So what do we know for sure is that autism is a neurodevelopmental condition, not the result of parenting, diet, or vaccines. And here's what really matters, that these people function in society. It's not defined just by their neurotypical standards. Autism people go to school. They do go to school. They do work. They do create. They do lead on every level, you guys. And so some individuals require daily support, yes, and while others don't. But none of that diminishes their value and who they are and their worth. And just because RFK Jr. hasn't seen a person of full-blown autism in person, those are his words, whatever that means, he's non-medical, you guys. He doesn't know. He's not trained to look for this. But there are people in our society that are productive engineers and artists and educators, coders, people that are contributing across every level of society. And so what is not being discussed, though, is equity. Black and Hispanics and multiracial children are more likely to be diagnosed, but often later, and definitely having fewer resources. That's not biology. That's systemic bias and lack of access. And so what happens when kids, once they get of a certain age in this system, the system that we are now destroying, the Department of Education that supports 504 plans and, other special needs, many of these families face a complete drop-off in services, no transition, no support, no guidance, and there's no way to justify some of the medical issues that we're dealing with. That's not justice, you guys. I mean, that's not a medical issue. That is a justice issue. That is a political system issue. So other stereotypes don't hold up either. Autism is not a measure of intelligence or value. It's a difference in how their brain is wired. Many autistic individuals possess exceptional skills, including patterns of recognition, memory, problem-solving abilities, and others may actually need daily support, structure, and assistance from communication and sensory regulation. So what matters is understanding and inclusion, not assumptions and disposing. This is a dangerous road, and here's where policy comes in. The American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizes that early diagnosis and intervention is crucial. When kids are supported early, they can thrive in school, at home, and in their communities. But our system is definitely underfunded and unequally distributed. Families of color often wait longer for these evaluations, and services vary widely depending on where you live. And once the kids in these systems become adults, they lose a lot of support, no plan, and no path. So again, this is not about a healthcare issue. This is about a justice issue. And politicizing autism, shame on you, RFK Jr. Dr. Brown, what else should our viewers know at this point?
So what do we do? What do we do with this madness that's being spewed at the Health and Human Services by the Health and Human Services Secretary? We want a world that values every brain, guys, because let's just be real. This fight is uphill in a country where medical research is literally being defunded. When research on Lou Gehrig's disease is getting slashed, not because it's not needed, but because Harvard had the guts to stand up to the Trump administration, that's the kind of political retaliation we're up against. So here's the deal, Midas Mighty. Here's what we can do right now. Support laws for early autism screening, education, and lifelong care. Demand equity. No child should be left behind because of their zip code. Back autistic-led organizations. Push for inclusion in schools, workplaces, and beyond. But most of all, vote for leaders who believe in science, equity, and dignity. This is about justice for everyone, for all of us. Because autistic people aren't broken. Society just needs to catch up. So let's be loud, let's be proud, and let's get to work. Thank you for watching. We are eh-yah, contributors to the MeidasTouch Network and proud members of the Meidas Mighty. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow for more updates. Bye, everyone.
Have a great week.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.